All right. Today in Business Success in 6, I have Chris Gathers from District 1 Brewery in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Thank you so much, Chris, for jumping on today with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes. So I'm excited to hear more about your business. So I'm going to ask you 6 questions in 6 minutes and we'll go from there. So the first question is, when people ask what your business does, how do you describe it?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, right? Because you can answer it in so many different ways. So obviously, we're a tap room microbrewery located in central Wisconsin. When we talk about what we do is we try to bring community together, right? And a lot of tap rooms talk about that, and we try to wrap that around brewing beer. Brewing beer is great in and of itself. I love brewing beer. It's fun. I love craft beer. I love the craft beer industry. But tying that back into the community and having more fun, if you will, by finding ways to connect with people that have been in the community for 40, 50, 60 years, trying to connect to the college kids that are moving into Stevens Point from all over, not only the U.S., but the globe. So we try to tell a story, right? And it's not just our story, it's the community story. So we find that to be, a lot more fun than just trying to brew 6 flagships and, having some kind of unique name or funny name. We find connect beer community around our tap room, and then the social structure that's been there forever, trying to get people maybe to put their phones down for a little bit and have a conversation over a pint, and just trying to build back into that social aspect of the relationship. And we find that beer is a much easier way to do that than many other avenues, if you will.
Thank you. Yeah, especially here in Wisconsin, I've got goosebumps from what you were saying, actually. When you started your brewery, what were your plans and how has that changed since when you first began?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, right? It's probably my 3rd or 4th business plan that I put together specifically around beer. I got my MBA back in 2002. So it kind of tells you a little bit of my age. Maybe so does the goatee and the beard a little bit. But certainly, I was a chemical engineer, specialized chemical engineer by training, 3rd generation paper maker, but always wanted to run my own business. And I tell people, if I was probably 2 years younger, I probably went into pulp and paper science, chemical engineer. I would have went into beer making. And so, we put together 2 or 3 business plans. The 3rd one was a community focused tap room with just a large enough system that we could, get in and make some beer with enough capacity to get a little bit of distribution, right? Not a lot of distribution. We don't want to necessarily be on the shelf out everywhere. We want to be real specific and strategic in where we place beer. And it's really more of a focus on turning beer in the tap room so that we can have, more unique offerings throughout the year. But more important than anything is to make sure we have enough fresh beer for our community. We are right off of I-39, so our community does expand a little bit when the tourist season is in full swing, as people run from Illinois upwards to the beauty of the Northwoods of northern central Wisconsin.
Totally. And I had the pleasure of driving right through there when I was headed up to Duluth. So the 3rd question is, you've already kind of answered it a little bit. It's, what is the biggest way you impact the community? And I was hoping you could actually share one of those brews with us that you directly impact the community with.
Yeah, so we have so many that we can talk about. So I'll probably talk about 2, 3, and I'll talk about them really, really fast. We absolutely respect where we are in the history of beer in central Wisconsin. I'm going to take just off camera real quick. Right. And I'm going to talk about one of our beers, and hopefully we don't get in trouble here. But sooner or later, someone might have a little bit of heartburn about the name of this beer. So this beer that we have here is called our Pointer. Right. And not to be confused, and it's not intended to confuse people with Stevens Point Brewing Company and Point Special. But what this is that not only myself, but one of my other business partners and most of our staff graduated from the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, which are the Pointers, right? And so this beer is actually named Pointer then and now because one of the individuals, or actually 2 of our beer tenders, brewed this beer with me. One of them was at Point now, and one of them graduated from Point, a couple of years ago. And so one of the things that I think separates us from, some craft brewers, and I know other breweries do this, so it's not unique and original just to District 1 is that we let our staff come back into the brew house and brew a specific style of beer, right? And so these two wanted to brew a beer that either their husband or their grandfather drank, and that was, you know, something like a American corn lager. And so we brewed an American corn lager, called it the Pointer. You see there's an icon on there, if I can get this on camera, right? It's a smaller dog with probably a little bit more of an adult dog to kind of indicate the age difference between the two individuals that we brewed that beer, right? Another beer that we use is, you know, another example of that is our Keva Hefeweizen, which is a German style Hefeweizen, right? Kevin was one of our beer tenders back in the day. He came in to play music in the tap room. And so when it was his turn to brew a beer up here, he just decided to brew a Hefeweizen. And so we brewed this Hefeweizen. There's a picture of Kevin immortalized not only on the can, but if you come in and get a 22-ounce pour of that in our Vice glass, it has a picture of Kevin on that. Some of the other things that we do in the area, right, is that, so I have a beer here called Got Your Six. We brew that on Veterans Day. And so we had a food truck, which we've done a lot with the food trucks in the area as we don't have food inside our tap room. We just wrapped up our third food truck festival of the year on Labor Day, huge success. But Got Your Six, right? So we pay homage to our veterans on Veterans Day, and then we brew this beer either with veterans or we have a veteran-owned food truck come in and provide food on that day. So, I mean, just a couple of examples of beer that we have. I probably have a dozen other ones I could probably turn around and grab as an example. But we like to focus on our staff and then tying that back into the community, whether it's telling a story or supporting some of the other small businesses like food trucks, which are the ultimate small businesses out there and real popular today.
Totally. Thank you so much for supporting the community too. So many other businesses and our veterans. That's awesome. The fourth question is, what is one challenge you have faced that other businesses could learn from? Now, we only have 30 seconds for this question. So one challenge that you would really teach other business owners.
So it's pure and simple. And I didn't talk about this earlier about, you know, what has changed, but obviously COVID-19 was not in our business plan. So regardless of how in-depth your business plan is, you need to make sure that when you start your business, you have sufficient cash reserves on hand. I think a lot of places don't come in with enough working capital, enough cash on hand. We fortunately came in with a really, really good position that helped us weather the storm. Not only the storm from COVID-19, but also to handle the delays in our project build out, which you're inevitably going to run into.
That's awesome advice. Thank you. What does the future look like for you? And do you have an exit plan?
Yeah, so the future looks like, you know, I was in industry for 22 years. I'm not going back into industry. It's just not where I want to be in life. So I'm into my second career here. Our goal is to open up a couple more tap rooms, not with the thought to go into production mode, but to open up small tap rooms in other communities with an infrastructure and with enough space and a small system there that we can brew there, impact the community, and then backfill from our larger system here in Stevens Point.
Awesome. That's exciting. And then last question, all subjects open. What inspires you most?
You know, really it's working with the staff here and within the community, right? And so for most of my life, I was a manager in the paper industry, working with younger process engineers coming up, teaching them this, that, and the other thing, learning the craft of paper making. That absolutely is the same model that we're using here at District 1. We have folks that we're sharing our knowledge with making beer. We're talking about beer. One of the beers that we do have that we just came out with for our Oktoberfest is Ozapis. So I love telling the story of a German style Oktoberfest, not like the American style Oktoberfest. And the name of this beer, Ozapis, is what the mayor of Munich proclaims at the opening of Oktoberfest in Germany, which loosely means it's party time. So Ozapis is the name of our fest beer, and that's one of our trivia questions that we have on Tuesday nights when we have trivia. So just teaching people about beer, the beer industry, and having as good of a time as we possibly can running a business.
That's awesome. Having fun in your business and making a difference in the community. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time today.